At 82, I've learned many life lessons, but there's one decision I deeply regret: moving into a nursing home. At the time, it felt like the logical step. My family encouraged it, assuring me I'd be well cared for and comfortable. I trusted them, but reality turned out to be far different than what I'd imagined. If you or someone you love is considering this path, I hope my story helps you pause and reflect. Nursing homes may offer structure and support, but they also bring unexpected consequences, ones that no one truly prepares you for. In this video, I'll share 6 powerful regrets I wish someone had warned me about before I moved in. These aren't meant to scare you, they're meant to empower you. Because once you make this move, going back isn't always as easy as you think. Regret 1: losing my independence. The biggest surprise wasn't the small room, the rigid schedule, or the unfamiliar surroundings. It was the slow, painful realization that I no longer had control over my own life. Before the move, I had routines. I chose when to wake up, what to eat, when to go for a walk, or when to enjoy quiet time in my favorite chair. But inside the nursing home, everything ran on someone else's clock. Breakfast happened whether I was hungry or not. Lights out came, even if I wasn't ready for bed. Simple choices, like what to wear or what book to read, started to feel like luxuries. I remember my first week waking up in a bed that didn't feel like mine. I reached for the book I had been reading at home, but it wasn't there. My favorite chair? Gone. In its place were sterile walls, generic furniture, and a sense of disconnection. That's when it hit me. I was no longer the decision maker in my own life. Over time, I stopped asking for walks when staff were too busy. I accepted whatever meal was served. I adapted to their system. But in doing so, I lost a piece of myself. So if you're considering a nursing home, ask yourself, are you prepared to give up the small freedoms that make life yours? Because once they're gone, you may miss them more than you ever expected. Regret 2: feeling forgotten. When I arrived, my family promised they'd visit often, and they meant it. My daughter came weekly, and my grandchildren would visit on weekends. For a while, it felt like I still belonged in their world. But slowly, the calls replaced the visits, schedules got tighter, school and work took priority. Holidays, once filled with family gatherings, became quiet evenings watching others wait by the door for someone who never showed. It wasn't that they stopped loving me, life just moved on without me in it. Middle birth alive, I remember one night sitting in my room holding my phone. I wanted to call my son just to hear his voice. But I didn't want to sound needy. I didn't want to be a burden. So I set the phone down. That's when it hit me. This was my life now, hoping to be remembered. If you're thinking about a nursing home, understand this. Out of sight often becomes out of mind. Even the most well-intentioned families can forget just how much their presence matters. Regret 3: losing my sense of purpose. When I moved in, I thought I was just changing my address, not my identity. I had no idea how much of my sense of purpose would slip away. At home, I had responsibilities. I watered my plants, made my own coffee, folded my laundry. They weren't big things, but they grounded me. They gave my day meaning. In the nursing home, those small rituals vanished. Meals were served, rooms were cleaned. My plants were no longer mine. I told myself it was a luxury to rest. But after a few weeks, the days blurred together. I found myself simply waiting for meals, for medication, for time to pass. I watched it happen to others too. George, an 84-year-old former carpenter, once spent his days building and repairing things. Now he sat, hands idle, eyes distant. "I feel useless," he whispered to me one day. Losing purpose is more damaging than you think. It wears on your spirit, slows your mind, and weakens your body. And finding new purpose in a nursing home is harder than just passing time. It's a fight to stay alive inside. Regret 4: declining health faster than expected. Before moving in, I was in decent shape. I walked daily, stretched each morning, and cooked my own meals. But once I arrived, the activity stopped. At first, it felt like a luxury, meals brought to me, help just a button away. But gradually, I moved less. My muscles stiffened. My strength faded. Getting up from a chair became harder. My legs, once reliable, now trembled. And I wasn't alone. Alice, my neighbor, used to walk daily. Within months, she switched to a walker, then a wheelchair. I feel like I aged 10 years in just a few months, she said. In a place designed for comfort, movement becomes optional, and that's dangerous. The less you do, the less you can do. If I had known how fast I'd lose my strength, I would have fought harder to keep moving, to stay active. So ask yourself, will you have the drive to stay active in a place designed to do everything for you? If this video resonates with you so far, please type 4 in the comments. Your feedback helps us continue creating content that matters. Regret of 5, the loss of privacy and dignity. Before I moved into a nursing home, I never realized how deeply I valued privacy. At home, I had my own space, my own schedule, and a door I could close when I wanted peace. But once I entered the facility, I understood quickly, privacy here is a luxury, not a guarantee. Staff come in and out at all hours for room checks, assistance, and scheduled routines. Even simple acts, getting dressed, taking a shower, or using the restroom, often require another person's help. I know they're just doing their jobs, but it's not easy to suddenly depend on others for the things you've done alone your whole life. I remember my first week when I had to press the call button just to use the restroom. Sometimes help arrived quickly. Other times I had to wait. To use the bathroom, to shower, to eat became a theme. And when someone did knock, they didn't always wait for an answer before coming in. There's also the matter of roommates. Not everyone gets a private room. I was fortunate. My roommate was kind and respectful. But others weren't so lucky. Some had roommates who were loud, unhygienic, or dealing with serious cognitive decline, which made rest or solitude nearly impossible. Even meals lost their personal touch. You didn't get to choose freely. If you didn't like what was served, tough luck. Everything was decided for you, from the schedule to the food, and even the lights out time. These losses might sound small, but together, they wear down your sense of dignity. You start to feel less like an individual and more like just another patient in the system. Being spoken to like a case number rather than a human being becomes common. Your name becomes less of a personal identifier and more of a chart entry. If you're considering a nursing home, really ask yourself, are you ready to give up the autonomy you've had your entire adult life? Because once that privacy is gone, it's hard to get back and harder still to cope with losing it. Regret 6, it's harder to leave than you think. When I first moved into the nursing home, I told myself, this is temporary. I imagined I'd try it for a few months, and if I didn't like it, I'd simply return home. What I didn't understand was just how complicated leaving would become. Physically, mentally, financially, getting out is far more difficult than getting in. First, there's the home you leave behind. My house sat empty for a while. My children assumed I was staying permanently, so they started sorting through belongings, donating some things, even discussing renting it out. Slowly, my home began slipping away. The idea of just moving back didn't feel so simple anymore. Then there's the physical toll. After months of little activity, I wasn't the same person who had walked through the nursing home doors. My muscles were weaker, my balance wasn't as good. Tasks that once felt routine now seemed daunting. My confidence in being able to live alone, cook, clean, move freely had faded. The independence I once had was now a question mark. Emotionally, the longer you stay, the more you adjust to the routines, the staff, even the lack of autonomy. It starts to feel like the outside world is moving on without you. And rejoining it, it becomes intimidating. It's easier to stay where things are familiar, even if they're not ideal. And then there's the financial piece. Nursing homes are expensive. If your home has been sold or your savings depleted to cover the costs of care, there may be no financial path back to independent living. I've met people who thought they were staying temporarily, only to find that, practically speaking, they had no home to return to. Nobody told me how permanent a nursing home can become. They don't tell you how your belongings slowly disappear, how your name on a mailbox is quietly removed, or how quickly your sense of agency fades. You think you're stepping into a temporary solution, but it becomes your entire world. So if you're considering this move, ask yourself, are you prepared for the possibility that once you go in, getting out may not be as easy or even possible as you imagine? Final thoughts. Looking back, I don't regret growing older. What I regret is believing that a nursing home was my only option. I walked in expecting comfort, safety, and support. What I found was something entirely different. Does that mean all nursing homes are bad? No, some people genuinely need the level of care they provide. But for those who are still capable, still mobile, and still longing for independence, there are other options worth exploring. If I could go back, I'd fight harder to remain in my own home. I'd explore home care, community services, or downsizing. Anything to keep even a small piece of my freedom. Because once you give it up, getting it back is a battle. So please, before you make this decision, think deeply, not just about the convenience or promises, but about your values, your routines, your privacy, your sense of self. Because the life you're living today is more precious than you know. If this message resonated with you, leave a comment and share your thoughts. What would you hold on to the longest? And if you haven't subscribed yet, please consider doing so. Your support helps us continue creating content that empowers and informs others just like you. Thank you for listening. We hope to see you in the next video.